Everybody, welcome to Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist, and of course, you're a member. So that means it's just you and me. So if you're here, talk with me in the chat and make sure the bell is notified. So when we do pop up, you're with me and I'm not by myself. Anyway, this remember the band from the 60s, Billy J, Kramer, and the Dakotas. There's a new Christmas song out he's going to bring to you and to us. It's called Christmas Kind of Feeling.
The song was written by Tom Hambridge and Richard Fleming. It is very cool. I mean, all the records I made in the 60s were done in 3 hours. And I didn't even know the songs then. I only got them on the day of the session. Whereas I did have some time to work on this myself, you know.
So you're saying back when you were recording in the 60s, you didn't have a lot of time to prep for that? You just went in there and did the tunes?
Well, I went in there and they, I'll be honest with you, like when I did the record Bad to Me, it was John Lennon just came in and played the song on the piano, and we had to learn it and arrange it and record it very quickly.
The birds in the sky would be sad and lonely if they knew that.
Wow. Now, when he wrote, it's one of my favorite songs, "Bad to Me." It's such a great melody. So he just told you, hey, come next to me. I have an idea for you, and I want you to do this song.
Well, it started off at my birthday in Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
Backstage, he just said, "I've got a song for you," and I said, "When am I going to hear it?" He says, "The next time you're recording at Abbey Road." And he turned up on the day, sat at the piano, and played me the song.
Oh, crazy!
And we learned it and did it. You know.
Did he tell you like how he wanted, or he just let you be you on the melody?
He just let me do exactly what I want. You know.
So easy, very easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. The song. What was the original, that song itself? Who is it about? What was it? Was there any meaning to that song? Or was it just a melody that he was putting together, or what?
Well, at the time, it just came across to me as the melody. You know what I mean? It's as time goes by, I realize more and more what a great song it was.
Such a great, it's timeless. That melody, yes. Yeah, and beautiful lyrics.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs. Now, for my viewers watching this, originally, when you was the first song that they wrote, was it "Do You Want to Know a Secret"? Was that the first one they wrote for you?
That was the first one I recorded. Yes.
Okay.
But there was, people. I always say to people, there were no demos. That was again. Was just a tape of John Lennon singing the song with an acoustic guitar, and we learned it and arranged it. I recorded that song more or less the way I did it live.
You did, and you recorded it before the Beatles recorded it, correct?
Yes, just shortly before.
Wow, that's wild. What a great song. Now, Do You Want to Know Secret? Was that Harrison singing that one?
George Harrison sang it on their first album, yes.
He sang it on the first record. That is his vocals. Because it sounded so blended. I couldn't tell if it was him or Lennon, and I wasn't sure about that.
Well, I think it was a different version than mine. You know?
Yeah. And actually, Do You Want to Know, for everybody watching this, also, Do You Want to Know a Secret, which is the title of your autobiography. So if anybody wants to check that out, I'll put the links down below, which you put out a couple of years ago. I'll let people know about that. Really quick, I want to ask you, I know last time when you were here, they're doing all the Beatles. They always try to do a Beatle movie and to capture the moment. And I don't think they ever get it right. Now, Midas Man, there was reviews of it, and I haven't seen it yet, but I was watching clips of it. And I'm a stickler about the instruments not being right or the locations. And then when I was looking at reviews, people were saying the same thing about it. What was your take about Midas Man? Did it capture Brian Epstein? What are your thoughts about that movie?
I've got to be very honest with you. I've not seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
So I can't really comment,
Yeah.
And I know that I'm doing the Brian Epstein the documentary.
Oh, so there's a
And
documentary of Brian Epstein coming out?
yes, I think it's going to be out March. That's the time that's only they're aiming for. And it's the one that's been approved by his family and everything.
Wow.
Because I don't think anybody's got it right yet.
They don't. They don't have it right. I had Pete Best on the show, and I asked him about Brian and what was the real Brian and how it captured, him and he and about that movie. It wasn't when I had Pete on the show. It wasn't out yet, so he's just. I hope they get it right. And but Brian Epstein was almost ahead of his time, but it was such a tough time for him. Here's a man who's a gay man in that time, which a Jewish gay man, and it's just he had to keep it such a, when you talk about the songs, you want to know a secret. It's like he had to keep his life a secret. It must have been so hard for him inside to keep that.
It must have been horrendous,
right?
Must have been terrible because let's face it, it was classed as being illegal. You could go to jail for it. Times have changed, thank God,
Yeah. Yeah. But he carried himself on film when you see his interviews, because that's all you got left. You have to really try to put the man behind these interviews, see what type of man he was. Like he was very proper.
He was a gentleman.
The gentleman, yeah. Seemed like a kind, gentleman, well-spoken man.
Oh, yes, he was.
When you first met Brian, I'm so it's funny because I'm so fascinated from Brian and Stu Sutcliffe, and there's not a lot out there of them that you can only capture little stuff, less of Stu Sutcliffe. But Brian Epstein, your first meeting with him, how did you meet Brian? How did you guys?
I saw him around when I was doing shows with the Beatles before they made records, and then I was introduced to him I had a manager called Ted Nibbs, and one day he said, you want to take a ride into Liverpool on the bus? And I went into this restaurant, and Brian Epstein was sat at the table, and Ted just said, I got to be honest with you, Billy, I've done all I can, but Brian would like to manage you. And that's when I met Brian for the first time and shook his hand and said hello.
And that was the beginning of a friendship with him as well.
That was the beginning of a friendship and a very good working relationship.
Yeah. So at that time, he was working with the Beatles. Was he working, because of the whole Mersey beat, was he working with other bands at that time too when he took you on?
Yeah, there was a lot of other bands. He at this time he had in his stable, I call it, he had the Beatles, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Big Three, Cilla and me, and a young guy called Tommy Quigley.
So you were around when the Beatles were playing. You saw the Beatles play around the time when Pete was in the band. I'm assuming as well.
I saw the first time I ever saw the Beatles was at Lowland Town Hall, and Pete was in the band then. Yes.
Was Stu in the band? Stu Sutcliffe,
yes.
Or he was? Oh, he was.
He was in the band when I first saw them.
Wow. So was Stu? Was he a player? Was he able to play? Because there's always these stories. Or his
well, I mean, I was just, I went to a dance hall, and the Beatles were playing that night, and he played, and I thought they sounded great, and I wasn't like, I hadn't analyzed it at all. To me, it was like, what you see is what you get, and what I got was I was very pleased. I enjoyed.
And that was the whole leather before the suits. That was Beatles.
That was before the suits. Yeah.
When they had the edge, they were, they were like almost before Guns N' Roses. They were the guys wearing the outfits. When you think about all that, that's funny.
Sure.
That's funny. I'll tell you, Pete, his drumming, and you could see how he plays now. Lovely guy and a great player. I never understood why or what happened or why they got rid of him and replaced him for Ringo. And Ringo definitely has his own sound too, different because he's a lefty. So he plays a little different, but Pete plays great. Lovely guy too, a lovely gentleman.
He's a lovely man.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I got to ask you, we just had the anniversary, the passing of John Lennon. And I want to ask you, do you remember where you were at when you heard the news of Lennon's passing?
Yeah, I do remember.
And how it affected you?
I was on my way to London that day when I heard it on the radio. And I always say to people, it seems like the traffic stopped. That's how it felt to me.
It just hit you like that, huh? That was it. Just like that. Do you remember your last conversation with John, or were you keeping in touch with him later on in his life?
I think I wasn't in touch with him, John, when he was with Yoko Ono.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, I used to go to a lot of the different parties and things in London, which at the time he was still with Cynthia, and he would say, "Will you take care of Cynthia while I'm, putting myself about?" And I would, I got to be very honest with you. I don't know Yoko Ono.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met her. I can't comment about it.
It was John that suggested you put the J in the middle of your name. Is that correct?
That's right. It was just prior to Do You Want to Know a Secret? About a month before, Brian called me in his office and said, "John has a suggestion." And I said, "What is it?" And John said, "Add the J. It'll make it more rock and rolling."
Well, but what's the meaning behind it, Jason? Because for him, for having his initial.
Well, at the time, he said to me, I didn't know he was married. I didn't know he had a son. And he said, "Julian." I said, "Oh, I don't like that name. I'll have to think of something else." But I never did. I never did.
Oh, so he suggested the name Julian to you. Julian Kramer. He said, "Don't call it Billy Julian." He wants to call it, or what?
I just said, "I don't like that name."
That's like a Larry David moment, right?
It is a Larry David moment.
And what was his face? Did he just, "Oh, okay, no problem," just shoved it? He just
no problem at all.
No problem at all. That's a funny one. Okay, the other fascinating fact is, so you basically, the songs that you did were really Lennon songs, because even though the initial Lennon-McCartney, but then McCartney approaches you with a song, Yesterday, and
Right.
apparently you didn't want to do it, or you turned it down. What's the story on that?
I went to see the Beatles playing at the ABC Blackpool. It was one of their last TV shows in the UK. And I've got to be honest with you, I was very, very lucky, very fortunate. They always came to me with songs. It was the only time I asked. And Paul sat at the front row in the ABC theatre and played me Yesterday. And I said, "I want a rock and roll song." And the only thing I can say is, I was 21 years of age. I wanted to get away from that nicey thing. Prior to that, I had a hit with Trains, Boats and Planes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing to a very adult audience, which I was, wasn't getting off on. So I think that must have all had something to do with it. But you can't win them all, we all make mistakes.
In yesterday,
Were there any other songs that some of our viewers would not know that you turned down, or any songs that you?
There was a song that they came in the studio one day and they played with this song called "I'm in Love." And we only had about 20 minutes of studio time left. We managed to put two rhythm tracks down, and I sang it, and I forgot all about it until like 40 years later. I mean, I don't know why. I just shelved it, and they did another version with a band called The Foremost.
Yes, I'm telling all my friends I'm in love.
Who had a hit with it. But, I heard it about 40 years later. I was in Mickey Mantle's restaurant in New York, and I heard this song come over the speaker. "I'm in Love," and, I knew it right away, but I thought to myself, I should have finished it. I never did finish it,
Another one.
I missed out on that one.
Okay. Well, you know, we all have regrets that moves you don't know at the moment. You never think that this is going to be the big one. Uh, now,
You
what?
know, you go. I always tell people you go in the studio always that you want to give your best and do your best,
Mhm.
and you want to appeal to the public. You want to be popular, whatever, and there's, there's only the man upstairs
It's
says what's what.
that absolutely.
I'm in love.
Now, you did do a cover, which I thought was great, fabulous, well done, and the video I was watching it of Lennon's "Jealous Guy." What a great song!
Oh yes,
I'm just a jealous guy.
Oh, fantastic.
well, I started doing "Jealous Guy" on John Lennon's birthday years ago, and it was a song that I really liked, and you know I did it at Abbey Road live, just as a thank you gesture for all the help you've given me. You know,
Yeah, beautiful, well done.
and I
Well,
was pleased that people liked it. You know,
the whole thing, the video is great. You're walking over there in the area. It's just well done. And anybody, I'll put a clip right above Billy so you guys could all check it out. Click on the link. It'll take you right to Billy's YouTube page as well, where there's a lot of great videos. So make sure everybody checks that out. Back to Brian Epstein. When obviously were you working with Brian till he passed? Were you guys still?
I was, you know, I saw Brian about a week or so before he passed.
You did.
Yeah.
Can you
You know,
tell something was off with him when you seen him?
you know, believe it or not, I hadn't seen him in a while. I was doing a week at the Shakespeare nightclub in Liverpool,
Mhm.
and he came to see me on the first night, and he said, "I'm going to America. When I come back, let's work on a project together, a new project." And that was the last time I spoke to him.
The last time.
Yeah.
When he said the new project, was it going to be just you, Billy J, by yourself, and Billy J Kramer by yourself, or he wanted to put you in a
I
band?
think it was going to be by myself because I'd already made a record with the Bee Gees, funny enough, a record called Town of Tuxley Toymaker Part 1, which I recorded with the Bee Gees before they were known.
Wow.
You know, I'd recorded that. I'd also recorded the Harry Nilsson song 1941. You know, so I was waiting to get involved in them projects, you know, as well.
Yeah, yeah. Great songwriters, Barry Gibb, huh? A young Barry
Yeah.
Gibb
And Harry Nilsson.
and Harry Nilsson. Yeah, incredible. Two fabulous songwriters. I mean, you think about the song, the tracks that Barry Gibb has written and how he developed the Bee Gees. When you
Oh, I
first
know.
encountered the Bee Gees, what did you say? They have something special. Did you see it right
Well,
away?
at the time they were just. I used to see them in Brian Epstein's office because he was doing some sort of. I think Brian was going to go into partnership with Robert Stigwood, who managed the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And Brian just said to me one day, I was finishing with EMI, you know, and Brian was forming his own record label. He said, "Would you be interested in making a record with Robert Stigwood?" And I said, "Obviously, I'd love to." And I got with Robert Stigwood, and he played me some of the songs he'd written. And we chose Town of Tuxley Toymaker. We went in the studio. They did all the vocal backups. They were great, you know.
Yeah.
They were obvious they were going to go places.
Yeah. They were kind of the young Jacksons, you know what I mean? The brothers, they had just this chemistry. I mean,
They had something special,
and
definitely.
their vocals, how they sang together too, really was like an Everly Brothers thing they had going on
Yeah.
in their own spin, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, you know, it's like you think about hindsight, like, you know, what would have been, what could have been, you know, with Brian's world and what he was going to do, and how his passing just changed the course of everything.
Well, it did for me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, because he was very protective and really took care of me, you know. And when Brian died, I was just like, you know, ships that pass in the night, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't have any direction, you know. It took me a long time to sort of get back on track, you know.
So in your path after Brian's passing, did you go to his funeral itself? Did you go?
No, I didn't.
You
No.
didn't go to the service. When he passed away, now what was your life like at this point?
Well, it was about, he'd formed his company in London,
Hmm.
and I sort of stayed there. And then when my contract was up, I decided to go to another company because I felt that Brian Epstein, it was like a family thing. We all knew each other. People ask me, they say, what was it like with competing with the Beatles? And the funny thing was, if the Beatles had a record out, it would be all the Beatles. If Jerry had a record out, it'd be all Jerry. If Sil had and Brian always insisted if one of his artists was successful, you sent him a telegram or you called them up. It was like a family thing. And I felt that when he moved to London, that was lost. So I just decided I wanted to go elsewhere, which I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the whole it's crazy when after Brian's passing, it changed for everybody, even the Beatles. It's almost he was the glue for them. And then when his passing went away, it kind of you have the Alan Kleins coming in and it got
Well, I'll be honest with you, I just didn't know what to do.
yeah.
I'm not a businessman. I'm still not a businessman. And over the years, I'll be honest with you, I went to a lot of different people, and it was never the same as what it was with Brian Epstein.
And times are changing. The sounds are changing.
I'll be honest, Brian Epstein was like this, even when I was on tour or when I was doing seasons and things, I would get a registered letter every Saturday. And in the letter, there'd be 4 checks for the guys in the Dakotas. There'd be some money for the road crew. There'd be some money for me. And then a detailed letter of everything we were going to do. That's how hands-on he was.
So he kept it
That
together.
was a personal manager.
Yeah, that was. Definitely was. You don't see that a lot these days.
I don't think you see it, do you?
No, you don't see the Billy J. Kramer, the Dakota. It's so crazy to name because it always sticks out to me, the Dakotas, and I think of Lennon's apartment building, the Dakota. It's so
I never used to think about that, but obviously I do now.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird because I remember the name Billy J. and the Dakotas. And where did the name come from for the band? Where did you guys get that
I have
from?
no idea. The Dakotas were a band from Manchester that Brian used to hire to back artists when they came to the north of England. And when I turned professional, my band didn't want to do it. So he introduced me to the Dakotas and we got together. That's how that came about.
That's how it came. Almost like a Tommy James and the Shondells.
Yeah.
Like that type of thing going on. It was great. Okay. I don't want to keep all your time here. I'm always appreciate talking to you. But the main thing is here right now, Christmas is around the corner. And for everybody watching, Christmas kind of feeling. The video, it's out. I'll put the links right here above Billy. You could click on it, watch it, and I'll put links where you could purchase it because it's going to go to a good cause.
By the way, I'm doing the Moonlight Theatre in St. Charles on December 22nd. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If anybody's looking in, I'd love to see you come along.
Yeah, moonlighttheater.com.
Moonlighttheater.com.
Thanks for spending some time with me, a little lunch break with me. I appreciate your time, and I hope I didn't chew your ear off too much right now.
No, I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed speaking to you. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful Christmas. All the very best in 2025.
You know what? You too have a healthy, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your family. Thank you again, my friend. All righty. God bless. Mr. Billy J.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Wonderful talking with you. Bye-bye, Billy. Here. Billy J. Kramer, an original from the 60s. Friend of the Beatles. Managed from Brian Epstein. Right here. I'm glad you spent this afternoon with me. It was wonderful chatting with him and hanging out with you. Post your comments down below. As always, who loves you? We do. Thanks for hanging with me right now. And happy holidays to you. Until then, we'll catch you all later. Now click here end there for our next episode. Bye bye. Bam.